This is my Junglarium, the biggest DIY enclosure project on YouTube. It is still a work in progress, lacking some technical things, plants and majority of animals, but in the last episode we added springtails and 5 different species of isopods. It all seemed great at first, but in few days I witnessed the horror. Isopods were not alone. So these are 5 different isopod species I added. Shout out to Isopod Range for sponsoring Junglarium with them. I forgot to mention in the last video, if you are from Europe and looking for some isopods, make sure to check out their shop, link in the description. And this is the horror, at least if you are an isopod, of course. Since I finished the background months ago, local spiders had time to come and occupy the holes in rocks and tree stumps, and I really didn't mind it, not realizing what sort of problem I'm creating, because the day after I added the isopods, I began finding them trapped in their nets. At first I would assume every trapped isopod is already dead, since they would always be curled up, but it turns out that that's not the case. Apparently spiders captured and ate more than enough, so I found out that some isopod was still alive and appeared to be unhurt, so I managed to save a bunch of them. Now you might be thinking, why don't I just take the spiders out? It is more complicated than it seems. At first I noticed 3 spiders. One was behind the big tree stump, this one was in the hole in the same stump, while the third one was in the hole in the rock. The problem is, on slightest sign of movement, they would just quickly bolt deep inside their hiding spot, making it impossible to catch them. I had multiple attempts on and off camera, and usually they would just hide as soon as I opened the enclosure. So after a few failed attempts, I managed to do a quick slap on the first one, knocking him off the net before he managed to hide, and as he was down, I squished him because I didn't want to risk him escaping. I know it goes against everything we do on this channel, but desperate times require desperate measures. For the second spider, the same approach was not an option as it was tucked in way too good. By this time I pulled multiple dead and alive isopods from the web. Plenty were alive and just needed to be freed from the net, but also I pulled like 3 or 4 dead duckies, and that's a $100 isopod, so it was having some expensive snacks. I decided on using a vacuum cleaner, but I noticed that there is a lot of webbing in front of the hole, which would just give an early warning to the spider, so I removed that first and waited for it to come out again. First attempt failed because the tip of the vacuum was too wide and didn't fit fully in the hole, so I made this extension, hoping that it will help. It did fit in the hole, but it seemed that the hole is just too deep so spider can just run away from the tube. So I tried leaving it in the hole for some time, hoping the spider will come down and it will suck it as soon as I turn on the vacuum. But that didn't happen. Then I just sealed that hole he's hiding in with the substrate. But it seems that there are more connecting pads, as he was back at his original spot the very next day. And not only that, it also had another dead ducky in his web. So I added even more substrate inside, which finally sealed the spider. It wasn't back, and I'm hoping I won't spot it in a week or so on some new location. For the third one I did the same thing. First I closed off the original hole with substrate, and as expected it just made a new web on the other side of the hole, so I also closed off that one, and so far so good, the spider didn't come back. I'm hoping that I will no longer see any isopods in the webs, at least until some population gets established. And I have seen a few comments saying that the isopods won't survive in this substrate because there is no real soil, and honestly I don't know. We will see in a few months how the situation will unfold. I just hope that there is still a healthy population and that spiders didn't kill too many. Once there is a big population of isopods, I won't really mind having few spiders inside, and that seems to be unavoidable since I also spotted tons of babies in one hole. Maybe there is a big mama inside too. I still didn't spot her though. Other than finding spiders in the web, I have observed these white ones all over the enclosure, on the rocks, on the wood, and they were the ones that I would find in the web of the spider that was in the rock, which is a bit higher on the background, which makes sense since I see them the most. Duckies on the other hand are a bit harder to find. I have only managed to find them a few times. I spotted them on the leaves and in the substrate. No babies though. I hope that they are still alive. The only one that seems to struggle are these big ones. I have found 2 dead so far, each time on the rocks, and the ones that are alive, that are still alive, they appear to be a bit sluggish. I'm not sure if that's normal for this species, but I think that the humidity is just too high for them. There is also another species of spider in the junglearium, this one that makes flat webs, but so far they are too small to catch an adult isopod, so I decided to let them be for now, but I'm gonna keep an eye on them. I don't want them to grow and get big enough to catch an isopod. Big surprise, I spotted another spider on the top of the enclosure. I'm not sure if that's one from the holes I barricaded. Regardless, he met his fate quickly. And also I'm having a battle with snails. They came in with dirt I use for the background, so every day I find 1 or 2 which I relocate outside. There are a few species without shell and 1 species with shell. I don't really mind them being inside, but they are eating some plants and mushrooms, so they definitely can't stay. And speaking of mushrooms, I have a ton of different mushrooms almost constantly sprouting, as if I have a farm inside. I don't think that they are harmful in any way, so I don't really touch them, and even I like how they look, adding the forest vibe. And later I spotted another spider. He was above the rock, so maybe that was the same one from the rock, but thankfully I was fast enough to grab him from his web, and you know how it goes. He became an isopod food. Good riddance, right? Also look at this, there are some tiny yellow ants in the junglearium. I assume they were also in the dirt, so I doubt that there is a queen, but I guess we will see in the future. By the way, this is the big mama together with those tiny spider babies. However, by the time I finish this video, I didn't manage to get her. For now. Anyhow, once we plant this enclosure, it will be insane and I cannot wait for that. Although keep in mind that once we plant it, it will take some time for the plants to grow into the enclosure, but even with fresh plants in, it will still be crazy to see. Also, by the way, do you see how the enclosure kind of looks yellowish or orangish or what? That is because the light is still not the right one, you see? This is just a temporary light that I have here for the plants and to see what I'm actually doing. But next week I have a proper grow LED lights coming for this enclosure, so then you will also see the transformation. When I add new lights, I will also plant some of these plants, not all of the plants that are here, but some of these plants. And also I plan to take this plant from Elvira's enclosure, because this plant is just too big for this enclosure. I didn't realize that it will grow so big, and you see it is actually sprouting flowers, which is crazy. And from the other enclosure, from this enclosure, I will take this plant you see that I have in the back. I will take a bit of that plant and plant it in that enclosure. And then I will order the rest of the plants that I need for that enclosure. After the light is set and some of these plants are planted. So get used to the fact that now there will be frequent updates in regards to junglearium. There will be more junglearium videos because we are now doing exciting stuff here. Also, one information before I end this video, plastic parts are restocked on the web shop. So in case you're waiting for that, you can go and order them. And I got the confirmation that I got the table for Ham in Germany. So yeah, I'm finally coming to German Expo. The date is, I'm gonna write the exact date down here and I will see you there. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, thumbs it up and comment something. If you want to support this channel more, there's a Patreon page. If you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe. Upload on Monday and sometimes live stream on Sunday. So see you again soon. Bye.